Good morning. Welcome to another fabulous episode of How Many Tabs Are Open on Mr. Johnson's Computer? One, two, three, four, five. All right, only five. So today we are going to be looking at a frequency table and a bar graph. When you're using your discussion posts, definitely use the vocabulary phrases frequency table and bar graph. Um, it's easier for your brain to make connections when you actually use phrases like bar graph and frequency table. If in here you're saying, I notice one looks like the other, is that a vocabulary word? One looks like the other? You know what I mean? So when you take a test one day, you're not going to see one looks like the other. You're not going to be like, what is this one? What is this one? They're going to say things like, first, look at the frequency table. Next, look at the bar graph. What do you notice about the information on the frequency table? What do you notice about the information on the bar graph? So use those vocabulary words when you are using your stems, and that will help you to learn because that's your ultimate goal is to know this stuff, right? Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to read all of the labels, all right? This is a label heavy unit. Okay. If you don't read the labels, it does not make sense. So the first thing that we're going to read is the labels of the columns. So we have fruit types: banana, orange, grapes, apples. Frequency, there's some tally marks. We're going to make sure that those tally marks match the numerical version here in a minute. All right. And then we're going to make sure that our bar graph matches the data on the frequency table. All right. So it looks like banana, and we have banana on our bar graph. Looks like orange is on our frequency table. We have orange on our frequency table. We have grapes on our frequency table. We have grapes on our bar graph. I think I said that wrong. Orange on the frequency table, orange on the bar graph. Apples on the frequency table, apples on the bar graph. All right. So we have 10 tally marks. You can tell because it's two groups of the five. Remember, one, two, three, four. Cross it is five. So there's 5, 10. That matches. Here we have 5, 10, 15. That matches. Here we have 5. That matches. Here we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 21, 22. So far, everything on our frequency table checks out. The frequency dashes match with the numerical frequency. All right. Now let's make sure that all of this information matches our bar graph as well. So we should have banana up to 10. There's banana, and the bar goes to 10. All right. Next one, orange should go to 15. We go to the bar graph. Orange is in fact at 15. All right, the next one, grapes at 5. So we go to grapes on the bar graph, and it goes up to 5. And then finally, apples 5, 10, 15, 20, 22, 22. So it should go 20. And if you'll notice here, we have 2, 3. So there's not an even number between 20 and 25. So this looks like 22 would be almost, it would be above 20 but below 25. That's kind of where it looks, right? Above 20 and below 25. This is a weird scale because they've got these lines in between, and it's really hard to divide 5 by 3 lines. So um, I would typically use like skip count by 2s, skip count by 5s. So everything on this so far, we have bananas at 10, we have oranges at 15, we have grapes at 5, and we have apples at 22. This is one of the ones where our frequency table does indeed match our bar graph. All right, so I notice that the same information is presented on both the frequency and the bar graph, or that's actually more like they are the same. So let's say I notice we have two different ways of representing categorical data. If you use the phrase categorical data in your stems, you are doing an awesome job. So if I find the phrase categorical data, frequency table, and bar graph in your stems, that's stellar work. That's like the kind of work that's building the connections in your brain so you can do this like when you're outside of 5th grade. Because if you don't build those connections in 6th grade, it's one of those things where you just might forget. Building those connections helps you remember stuff. Remembering is half the battle at school, right? So I noticed there are two different representations of categorical data. There's one, there's the other. This is a frequency table. This is a bar graph. They are the same data. All right. All of the data matches on the frequency table and the bar graph. So the same data is presented on the frequency table and the bar graph. They are different because a frequency table is a numerical representation and a bar graph is a pictorial representation. It's a picture to look at, right? So we can either use the the numbers. I'm trying to read too many things and talk at the same time. The numbers, right? We can use the numerical frequency by looking at the numbers, or if you're a visual person, you can use the bar graph to look at pictures representing these numbers. So this is your numerical representation in your frequency table, and here's your pictorial representation in your bar graph. And then finally, I wonder. Um, Number one, the thing I wonder is they didn't really specify, or they weren't specific with their titles. Favorite fruits of what? All right. One thing I would say is that what are the title like? What are some more specific titles? Whose favorite fruits? Right. Is this a class survey of favorite fruits? Is this a parties survey of favorite fruits? Is this a big family's survey of favorite fruits? So it's not very specific. And then these labels are a little bit better. Amount, you could be more specific by saying like people, people's choices, or something like that. Fruit type, obviously, you can't really get more specific than bananas, orange, grapes, apples. Um, so, uh, I wonder I wonder why they pluralized grapes and apples and not orange and banana. Just little things like that. So my wonderings are mostly about the labels. Why weren't the labels more specific? All right. If you're wondering something about why the frequency table looks like it does, or why we use hash marks, or why we use bar graphs, you can put that as your wondering. All right. Please don't put I wonder nothing. Okay. The point of the wonder is to flex your brain. Think of something like even me as a teacher. I know this information, but I'm not saying on these, I wonder nothing. All right. I'm making something that ties in what we're learning to the lesson. So my wonderings are, why are my titles not more specific? Okay. So that is the assignment or the first part of your two parts today for math. So make sure you use those stems completely. Make sure you use the I wonder, and please don't say I wonder nothing, because that is not using the stem. That is just that is getting rid of the stem, but you're not getting credit for that. All right, because that's not how wonders work. And once again, wonder shows me that you can think about this. To be able to make a question about what you're looking at shows you have a higher level of understanding. If you say I wonder nothing, that means you might not be able to formulate a question. If you can't formulate a question, that means there might be a situation where you're not understanding the full breadth of the lesson. All right. So wondering is kind of like you being able to make a question, says, I understand this well enough to ask a question. Like me personally, I wouldn't be able to ask an astrophysicist a question about space time and the ever expanding universe, because I don't know enough. I feel like I would have a really hard time giving a specific question. All right. But if someone wanted to, or if I had a question about Pokemon, what typing a Tepic is, even though I know that, um, I know that Pokemon have typing, so I would say, like, what type Pokemon is a Tepic, or something like that. So if you know, you can ask a question. All right. So really focus on using that wondering, especially for the rest of the fourth 9 weeks. All right. Because that one really shows that you are understanding some of it and that you are thinking further beyond what you have to learn. And that's making it your own. That's what's cool about learning, is making it your own. All right. So that should be it. You have one more. You have a Google assignment for math. So make sure that you're watching all the videos to help you through that. And if you have any questions, ask your teachers. Will be around. Remember, I will not be around this afternoon from 1 o'clock onward. So please, if you have questions about today's assignments, please ask me during the day. And reach out to your teachers if you have questions. I hope you have a great day. Feel free to like and subscribe, I guess, if you feel so inclined. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye.